Hi, everybody. I'd like to share with you my experience at being a scrutineer at our recent federal election. So, my local candidate emailed me, asked me if I would volunteer to do this task, and I agreed. And I had to do some, it was a last minute thing too, so I had to do some quick training, a couple hours of videos to watch, and there were things like get there early, make sure the voting boxes are empty before they're deployed. Um, when you go there late, you got to be there at least 15 minutes before the polls close, or they lock the doors, and there's no pictures or videos or stuff like that allowed. So leave your cell phone in your car. And so okay, I guess I could do that. It opens at 9:30, closes at 9:30. So I show up at 8:30, and this building they have the actual places where the voting box is and where the place you pencil in your vote with is inside the building, and then they have two double doors and glass windows between them, and then they have the reception area outside the building, out in the summer sun, which was kind of neat, I thought. And they had the doors propped open with cardboard, so the doors are not opening and closing. They're just always open. So anyway, so I went there and said, so okay, where are the boxes? They said, well, they're already. I want to see that they're empty. Oh, well, they're already deployed. You can't do that now. And I said, oh, well, when did you deploy them? 7:30, I was told. So 2 hours before I got there, 2 hours before it opened, they had already done that. So I missed the first thing I was supposed to do. I went, oh my god. Yeah. So I guess I want to show you this. This is the little badge I had to wear. Candidate's representative. So I've never done this before. So I was okay. Why? I screwed up the first one. I guess I should have been there at 7, but the training video said an hour. Anyway, so I'm observing people coming in, getting signed in, going to their appropriate poll. So there were 6 stations with 6 voting box receptacles at each one. They're made of cardboard, about 1 foot square, or cubed, I guess, with a slot in the top. And the first thing I noticed is that they would keep a manila envelope over top of the box to cover the slot, and only open it when a citizen was putting their paper vote ballot in the box. And then they would cover it back up again. I didn't read anything about that or what that's all about. Don't know if that's policy or somebody's idea of keeping the slot safe from malicious injections of voting papers. I don't know. It seemed odd to me. Um, I guess they want to control when it goes in. They want to be able. They don't want you to slip it in without them watching you. So I'm, a couple hours into it. I'm, not seeing anything unusual, nothing I'd be concerned about. And then I kind of started thought, well, okay, if I wanted to do something, just to swing the election, what would I have to do here? Well, I'd have to get ballots into that box, and then remove ballots of people I don't want to get elected, because they're probably going to have to balance at the end of the day. And I thought, well, the only way you could do that is to swap the box out, and then go through it, and then put it back. And I said, I can't be here all day. I'm not going to be able to watch for that. So I'm just going to have to trust that nobody's doing that. So I guess to do that, you definitely have to have people on the inside cooperating, because they would have to, and there was a back door that they could exit through into the other parts of the building, which were not always occupied. And I guess it's theoretical, but as a conspiracy theorist, no one's going to do that. And so the day goes on, and then partway through the day, I guess about noontime, I start getting these sheets from them. I have them here, but I won't show them to you. It's a list of all the voters who have already voted. So when you come in, they write down which polling box you go to. They're all numbered, 6 of them, and then every individual has a number as well, so that when they check you off on the master list, they put the number on this sheet, and they gave me copies of them. So I didn't know what to do with them. So I called the campaign headquarters, and they told me, well, that's the list of who's voted. So we have a list of the voter rolls, so we can look to see who's supporting us that hasn't voted yet, and we could call them and tell them to come in. I said, okay, well, okay, but don't you worry about that. They didn't want me to worry about that, and I said, well, okay. So anyway, the day presses on, and I got another set of sheets um, that are getting kind of old. And then I looked at the date and I went, oh, I already have these. So they gave me the same ones twice, that when they were fresh, and then copies of them again when they were 2 hours old. So I had duplicates. And then later in the day, um, it seems like I started getting sloppy because they gave me only one list from one of the six boxes, and I never ever got through the rest of the day the other five. And I attributed this to the problem is that the chief security officer, whatever she calls herself, the one who's running the show, is overworked, and she's constantly filling in for staff while they go on break, while they have lunch, and she never gets any of those things. She's just working from dawn till dusk. And so I said, okay, well, I'm not gonna complain because she's clearly too busy to worry about, and I don't need them anyway. It's getting close to closing time now, so if we figure out who's not voting, the chances of hustling them up and getting them down here, I'm not gonna worry about it. So anyway, so closing time gets close, half an hour. So I go, okay, it's going to be shut down soon. We're all going to be locked in because they don't want anything leaking out about what the votes are. And I'm going to put my cell phone in my vehicle because I don't want them to confiscate it from me and hold it. I don't want someone else holding onto my cell phone in case they drop it or they lose it. So I run out to my vehicle, I lock up my cell phone, and I come back. 9:30 arrives, and they bring all the tables from the outside inside, but they don't close the doors. The doors are still propped open with cardboard, all four of them, two double doors, wide open. And they start counting ballots. And just as a sidebar, a couple of people showed up just before closing saying that they're hired counters, so they're going to assist us with counting. One guy comes with a backpack, and I kind of thought, oh, backpack. Maybe there's a bunch of votes in that backpack. And so I decided I'll keep an eye on that backpack. But within a few minutes, I lost track of that backpack. I don't know where it went. I couldn't see it around anymore. And I don't know why the guy brought it in. He should have left it in his car. Anyway, so that was kind of, I thought, what the hell happened to his backpack? And anyway, so I kept a close eye on things. So there's 6 polling stations, and there's only one of me. Technically, or if I recall the rules, each candidate can have 2 scrutinizers for each poll. So there should have been at least 6 of us here, maybe 12. And then the same representation from all the other candidates. There was 6 in total. But there was no one, just me. So I'm the only guy who's trying to keep everybody honest by watching what's going on. So I figure I'm going to walk back and forth along the 6 tables and observe what's going on. But the gal in charge says to me, no, you go sit down at the end. I don't want you wandering around. And of course, in my rules, it says I have to do what I'm told. So I go sit down and I go, oh, okay. So I'm at one end. I can't see anything of what's going on at the other end of the place. And she sits me down at the table that had the most number of votes cast. So it was going to be the longest box to count. So anyway, so I'm sitting there watching what's going on in front of me and kind of looking at other ones, and everybody's not doing the same thing. Some people laid out 6 envelopes, one for each client, and then took the vote out, called out the name, and put it on a pile on top of the envelope. Other people didn't use envelopes, they just put them on the desk. And nobody verified what the person pulling the label out said was what it was voted for. There was another person, but they were checking. They had a checklist with 6 columns of the six candidates and little check boxes. And every time they called out a name, they would put a check mark. So I guess when you add up the check marks at the end, you get a total number of votes. So this went on for a while, and then a couple of other ones started finishing up. and then we're still going. And then I asked about the. I was told earlier in the day. I don't remember who or what, that there was advance poll done last week, 4 days last week for advance polls. They also needed to be counted. And so I inquired about them. Well, who's going to do that? And then the guy that I was observing at this end table points over to a desk by the wide open door, and he says, "Oh well, they're doing it right there. There's box number 625. They're doing it right now." And I said, "Whoa, oh, are they? And you told me there's 2,000 votes in that box, if I recall. That's right. So they're going to be here for a while. So yeah. So anyway, my cell phone is in my vehicle. Nobody asked me if I had one. I could have been secretly snapping pictures and sending them out. And I wasn't locked in. The doors were wide open. So all the things that I was told were going to happen were not happening. So anyway, so one by one the tables start finishing up, and of course, except for the advance poll ballots, we were the last ones to finish them up. Now and then other things happened. So on our particular table, there was one ballot that had no X in a box. It was a no. They didn't vote, and there was one that was improperly circled, so it was a tainted ballot, and there was a third one that was tainted while the voter was using it, and they turned it in and got a fresh one. I don't remember what name they called it. So there was a total of three ballots that were not for any candidate because they were spoiled in some way. Well, um, they when they finished all this stuff, they count the ballots in each pile and make sure it matches with the number of check marks on the box, and then they give that number to the reporter, and they call it in for the election, and then they write it down on a piece of paper, and they give me a copy of it as the candidate's representative. Well, same thing going on there. There were 6 tables. I only got 5 copies. One table did not give me a copy. One table only gave me the votes for the candidate I was representing because it was a particular party that sent me there. I wasn't covering it for all the candidates, just one. So they only gave me that one. The other 4 gave me a list of all candidates and all votes. And there was a couple of them that also had, I'll call them spoiled ballots. I'm not sure if they are or not, but ballots that were not counted. So a couple of the tables had them, a couple others did not. So I noticed in the list of candidates and the votes, at one table they wrote down blank ballot, 1. But at our table we called it a spoiled ballot, which was down in a different spot down the bottom of the form. So again, not everyone in the place is doing it the exact same way. So it seems to be however you feel it. So I kind of think to myself, okay, so everything in the training video is not covered on this. They're not doing what I was told what was supposed to be done. So I kind of going, my God. So I guess I thought, am I going to hang around and wait for the advanced ballots to be done? I don't think so, because they're going to take them a long time. It was already 11:30 at night. I've been there for 2 hours after closing, and the doors were still wide open. The place was insecure. And then I was flabbergasted that I got to back up a bit. When polling closes, they put a sticker over the slot in the box. And then 5 minutes later, they cut it open again. I thought, why are you bothering? I mean, the doors are wide open. Is this sticker going to stop everybody? It seemed very strange to me. Poor security was my thoughts. And security that is, it's not peace of mind. It's just some kind of ritual. And anyway, so back to 11:30. So again, they take all the ballots, put them in separate envelopes, take all the paperwork, put it in an envelope, put everything into a yellow bag, and then put it into the voting box that all the original ballots came out of, and tape it all up and put a seal on it again. And then much to my surprise, the person who's running it, they towed it all out to her car and put it in her car. And I'm kind of going, shouldn't a Brinks truck be showing up for this or something like that? Like that seems very odd to me. And so they're loading them all up. Different people who different people employees who are working there are picking them up and taking them out and putting them in a car. And they're still counting the 2,000 advance poll ballots when I left. And I kind of thought, well, really, you could take those boxes home because there's a book of seals. You got a full book of seals, and you could easily and make your changes, swap the documentation out, seal it back up, and take them to wherever she's going to take them tomorrow in her car, and nobody would know. Now, having said all that, the the riding is always conservative. Has been. I've lived here 3 decades. It's always been conservative. They always get 50+% of the popular vote, and the other five get a share of the other five. It's usually the Liberals are second, the NDP is third, and then the fringe parties at the end. So I haven't checked to see how it turned out in the whole county, but in that particular polling station, it was what I expected it to be. Um, I guess if you're gonna be nefarious, I guess you got to choose a polling location where there isn't such a dominant um, trend for your opponent to be elected, hands down, because you need to stuff an awful lot of ballots to counteract that. So yeah, so I think our election system is a farce. It's done by very nice people who are overworked and probably underpaid. I don't know how much they get paid. I did it voluntarily. I got paid nothing for monitoring the situation. But just the BS they give you about how secure it has to be and all these rules and regulations, um, and they don't follow any of it, none at all, except ordering me to go sit somewhere and stay out of the way. Anyway, also too, someone from the local Liberal campaign showed up to get those sheets of who voted, and he comes, of course, in his red shirt, which I knew as soon as he arrived. Oh, it's a Liberal, and of course, in the training video, you're not. The voting place is a non-partisan place, and you should not, under any circumstances, wear colors of the people you support, because they'll ask you to leave. Well, he shows up, asking for the sheets, and I didn't know that time. I was just observing him. He talks to the person in charge, and then he goes up to one of the reception desks where the staff is receiving voters, sits down in the empty chair, and starts talking about reforestation policy with some of the staff. And he's there for about 15 or 20 minutes. And then I go over to the boss, the person in charge, and I said, when you got a minute, could I have a word with you privately? And then I waited, and she never did come over, and I had to go seek her out again. I said, who was that guy in the red shirt? I figured he was liberal because he sure looked like a liberal. He was talking politics. I mean, that's taboo, and he's wearing a flaming red shirt. He might as well write a big L on it just to top it off. It was obvious he was a liberal. I mean, he walked in like he owned the place. Anyway, another example of how they're not strict. They're very very lax in how they do things here. Because I knew as soon as he arrived he was liberal. I'm sure all the people voting, it was obvious to them who he was, and as I say, I guess the Liberals are used to owning the polling stations because they've been in power so long, so many times. Just unbelievable. Okay, I just paused it for a minute there because I was double checking to see if I had forgotten anything, and I can't think of anything else to add, so I'm going to sum it up there. So my candidate, um, my former candidate won, and I wasn't going to support. I'm not supporting him anymore. So the candidate I did support came in fourth. Not so it wasn't fun, but it opened my eyes as to how sloppy it is, and how easily someone could take advantage of that sloppiness to make things their way, very easily, because they don't follow the rules. They just do whatever they feel like it, and nobody says anything about it. And even when you try and point it out, they don't seem to be too interested in it. Anyway, yeah, um, that's my story. Thanks, everyone.